So I am the coordinator of math support at Fairmont State. Definitely going to be a little bit more boring than the last session we just had, so I apologize for that. There was a lot of good stuff there everyone was talking about. Amanda's with me and she'll pop in here in a few minutes and talk about some other things with us. But one of the big barriers that students face in coming to college is math and running into issues with getting through their required math courses in a good amount of time to be on track for getting their degrees. So several years ago at Fairmont State, we implemented the math support program. And what it does is replaces all of the former developmental math classes and remedial math programs that we had. So students previously, if they did not come in with the test scores required to go into their credit-bearing math course, they could take up to 4 semesters of remedial developmental math prior to even getting to that first math class that's required for their degree. So that can really hinder students, hold them back in finishing college, let alone in a decent amount of time. And it's, it really discouraged a lot of them as well, because those were just not very well-structured courses. They were kind of, especially here at Fairmont State, just like sat into a room and on their own. There wasn't really a good instruction, a teacher kind of dedicated to working with them and teaching them through the courses. So just not a good situation, and students were really having a hard time making it through and then pursuing any degrees, let alone STEM science degrees. So students now coming into Fairmont State can take their credit-bearing math course the first semester they come into college, no matter what their test scores are. So every student can now place directly into that credit-bearing course, and they do not have to take any remedial classes. There's been several different things that kind of played into creating this program: HEPC, Complete College of America, just the leadership here at the university. But we started back in 2014, and then we're full scale. Every student coming in went into math support if they didn't place higher than in fall of 2015. So what do our co-requisite courses look like? Throughout the years of doing math support at Fairmont State, there have been several different models that we have used, and we have finally settled on one these past few years that's worked well for us, but this is done differently at every school. It just depends on kind of what works best for everybody in their situation. So we have 2 pathways, either the STEM pathway or the non-STEM pathway, your quantitative reasoning course. And each of them have a math support course. They meet for 5 contact hours per week instead of a traditional 3 contact hours. The course, though, is a 4 credit hour course, but we meet for 5 contact hours. But during the course, we do a lot of just-in-time tutoring. So the students, it depends kind of every class, really, it's different. If we're working on something and we see that the kids are struggling with fractions that day, then we're going to stop and we're going to do some extra work with fractions right then and there, just in time, as they needed it. So a lot of that just-in-time tutoring happens, and that really just, like I said, it varies from class to class, semester to semester, topic to topic. Like, what are these students struggling with versus, previous semesters they would have been different. We review a lot of essential study skills. We have students keep a notebook, an organization tool for them, so they're organized with their homework and notes. And we, discuss with them and work on them with studying and managing their time. In class, we do some hands-on activities and discussions to kind of reinforce these concepts and make sure that they're actually spending time doing the math, because that's how they're going to learn it. We can stand up here and talk until we're blue in the face, but if the kids are not doing the work, they're not going to get it all the time. So they need to spend time actually working. And that's one of the reasons that we meet for those extra 2 hours a week instead of just 3 hours. We meet for 5. The instructors that we have teaching these courses have to be compassionate and understand that the students need extra help. They need someone that is really invested in helping the students learn the material, not just, I'm just here to tell you the information and then it's your job to figure it out. So the instructors that we have, most all of us have a background with just education. So we know how the students learn and kind of what works best for them, and can really reinforce some of that and make sure that the students know we're here to help them, to help teach them and help them understand this material. We want to see them succeed. And we also keep our class sizes smaller. So it's really important that we're able to actually work with our students. And we can't do that if there's 50 or 100 students in the class. So we actually right now are capping our classes at 18 students. So we're lucky enough to be able to have small classes like that. Ideally, it would be even smaller, but 18 is where we're at right now. We have enough time then with that smaller amount of students to really get to know them and work with them on a more individual level. So this map shows just our different pathways and some of our ACT scores that are required for the different courses. There are two main math support courses that we have: the fundamental concepts of math, which is for our non-STEM majors. That's our quantitative reasoning course. And then our college algebra with support. So that's our STEM majors, engineering majors. The engineering has a little bit of a different pathway, but they will, if they don't meet the test requirements to go into their applied technical math, they come into college algebra with support instead. And then they'll go on to take trig and then other classes after. Otherwise, they have a different kind of modified course where the college algebra and the trig is kind of mixed together in a different way with the applied tech math 1 and 2. So that's a little bit of a different pathway, but the rest of our students, you're either college algebra or your fundamental concepts. And so you can see on here, the college algebra with support is our math 1430, and the regular college algebra without support is math 1530. So that course requires an ACT score of 21 or higher or equivalent. Many students are not coming in with that at this point. I think the last time we looked, and I don't have specific numbers yet, but we're somewhere around 60% of students coming in are not meeting that ACT requirement to take on-level college algebra. So we're seeing a lot of students filter into our college algebra with support class. And then the quantitative reasoning course is our math 1407. And then math 1507 is the one without support. So that course requires an ACT of 19 or higher. If students do not meet the 19 ACT for fundamental concepts or the 21 for college algebra, then they are just placed directly into the college algebra or fundamental concepts with support. They get the exact same credit for their major, for their general studies, no matter which of the two courses they take, with support or without support, just that they have 1 extra credit hour on their transcripts, and we meet for 5 hours a week instead. But once they take the college algebra with support or fundamental concepts with support, they have fulfilled the requirement for that general studies class that they needed, and they can move on from there to whatever other courses they would need after, whether that be a statistics course or trig or any of those. So students are getting the same credit, but we just spend a lot more time on task and on material. So they're really getting that extra help that they need while they're working and not just later on trying to figure it out on their own. I'm going to let Amanda jump in here real quick, and she'll talk to you kind of a little bit more about what our courses look like on a daily basis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Smith, as Lindsay said, and I'm an instructor of math support here at Fairmont State, and I've been working in the math support program since day one. And so I have seen some of these changes that Lindsay has previously mentioned, and how we have finally settled into a very nice routine here. And so the screen that I'm going to start with, this is our notebook rubric for our class. So Lindsay mentioned that we require our students to keep a math notebook, and along with study skills and organization skills, or excuse me, along with their math skills, we're trying to teach them study skills and organization skills. And I don't want to read this whole entire rubric to you, but we have 4 categories. And one of them is the notebook organization. And so we're trying to teach them organization skills. Another one is their classwork, which she's mentioned. We do a lot of hands-on. So every single day that we see these kids, so 4 days a week, we're doing something, whether it's 10 questions or 5 questions. We pass out some papers, we walk around the room, we help them. So every single day, these kids are doing some type of work. The next section is the notes, which I'm excited to show you about that in just a minute on the next slide. But we ask that they make their notes in order, and they complete their notes, and they do examples, and they question things that they might need to ask us later. And the last section on this rubric is their homework section. And this is where they actually do the work outside of class without us. And so currently we use this program that's called Hawks Learning, and you may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it. Here's what this kind of looks like. And this class, we've designed it to be a mastery class. And I want to actually skip over this one. I'll come right back. This is what the kids get. Okay, we're going to start with notes because this is the most important thing I think that we do for these guys. They're going to get the blank notes on the left-hand side. And the day before we go over them in class, we ask them to fill them out from what we call the learn section. So it's not like they have to know this information. They're given it in a PowerPoint kind of thing, and they're just filling it out. So that when we come into class the next day, instead of me going on and on and on about solving systems of elimination, they have the work done that you can see over here on the right. Now, maybe they didn't quite understand it as they were writing it, but they have it. And so we can talk about what they've already filled out rather than them writing so quickly and so in tune with their writing that they miss out what I'm trying to say. And so what happens is they get their blank sheet of paper that you see on the left. They sign into our online homework platform, which is called Hawks Learning, and they start with what we call Learn. And if you click on this start button on Learn, it's your e-textbook. It comes up and it's in the form of a textbook, so they don't have to physically carry one. And they can click through the pages, and there's the examples and the definitions, and there's vocab words, and there's actually YouTube videos sort of embedded in there, and it's really cool. And so the night before class, they go to this Learn section, they fill it out, they come in. Cool. We go over it, we do other examples, all of that. Then later after class, they go home and they click on this practice. And in this practice, it's just that, it's practice. They can do questions and they can take as long as they want. They can get as many as wrong or as many right, as long as they're making progress. Once they've completed, in this particular example, 75% of the practice, then they move on to what we call certify. And the green, which is a little lighter because we haven't done this here, the green is where they actually get their mastery grade, I should say. And so they'll go in there and they'll do the homework just like they did in the practice, but this time it's for points. This time it's for a score. And while they're in that certify, we have it set up that they can email us direct questions right then, right now. And it comes right to our email. We can answer them as soon as we are available. And this is what the Learn section looks like. And so you can see that here is a video they can watch. Here is the actual problem. Here's the solution. And here are all the steps. And so again, instead of them coming and me just talking and talking and talking for 50 minutes or an hour a day, they've come in with a lot of this work finished. So hopefully that's the goal, is that they come in and they ask questions. And so after we're done with the lecture part, and I use that word loosely because our kids, we have more of a conversation. You know, I tell them a little bit of something, we do an example, they ask questions, they give me questions, hey, what if? And then we'll do it. And like Lindsay mentioned, if they're really struggling with fractions, we say time out on this lesson, let's do fractions right now. And so that's pretty neat because they get the help that they need before they leave and before it's 10 o'clock at night and they're working on their homework by themselves without me. And so when they leave, they have 5 or 6 questions of what we're expecting them to do with correct answers. And so they can mirror that in their homework without us. Okay, Lindsay's going to come back over and wrap this up for us. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Amanda mentioned that when the students are in there doing their homework, they can email the problems to us. So it'll kind of take a screenshot of the homework problem they're working on and it sends it to our email. So if they're really stuck on something and they have no idea how to, figure it out, we can then help them. We can see the exact problem they're working on. One of the other things that's nice about, go the other way here, that's nice about the system that we chose here is that when they're in that practice section, there's also a lot of extra embedded help within that. There's a little tutor, it's called a tutor button that they click on, and it will give them either the whole solution, like the whole problem worked out if they just have no idea where to start, or it will give them the step-by-step where it asks them kind of leading questions through the problem. So there's a lot that's even built into this system that gives them that extra support when we can't physically be there with them while they're doing it. So, and I know a lot of us also use the Remind app so that students have access to us quicker than email, because you know those come right. If you're not familiar with Remind, it sends it straight to your cell phone or like a text message. So we can communicate with them, and a lot of us do after class, because that's when they're working on their homework and when they have other questions that come up they didn't think about during class. So a lot of us do work with that as well. So a few things that we know are working really well with our program. It's very successful that we've gotten this model we finally settled on. It works great for our students in our situation. Our courses fill up every semester. We have a wait list set up for our classes every semester because there's always more students than what we can offer. I mean, we just don't have enough people to teach the classes that we need. So the courses are filling up. We offer typically between 13 and 15 courses of math support every semester. We also offer one section over our new winter term, and then typically we offer one section of each class over the summer as well, so that students can take these at any point throughout the year. We have a lot of positive feedback from students and from faculty. The faculty see this as a huge benefit because the students are a lot more prepared when they come into their other classes. You know, especially with STEM students, when they get into their science classes, when they have to know some of that different algebra that they were really struggling with, they're a lot more prepared going into that, and they're more comfortable. So faculty think these are positive courses for the students. The students need this extra support, and students themselves like it. We have every semester students who technically would place in a higher class, but choose to take this class so that they have the extra help. They kind of recognize that they need extra help, or they want extra help, or maybe they just, you know, they want the extra time. They don't want to feel like they have to be at, you know everything and be kind of at a higher level. So they feel more comfortable working with this extra time that we have. That it's a huge need. Like I said, mentioned before, a significant portion of our students that are coming into Fairmont State just don't have those test scores to get right into those math classes they need. So it's a huge need for our students, and just the whole culture is shifting across campus for kind of the attitude towards math. Every semester we have students that come in and just say, I'm bad at math. I can't do math. I'm terrible. No, you just haven't been prepared as well as you should have been, So we kind of get the students to a place where it's a positive environment in our classrooms, and we get them into that kind of positive attitude and say, hey, math's not that bad. Look, we just needed a little bit of extra practice and a little extra time. There's still some things that we're working on. Every semester, all of us that are teaching math support, we talk constantly throughout the semester and say, hey, this is a good thing that I came across, or hey, I did this, but it wasn't, quite worked out like I'd planned. So we're constantly tweaking the courses as we go and as needed, and making those changes. We, of course, are always looking for more faculty that are willing to teach these courses and would be a good fit to actually teach the courses. And collecting data. So we have to collect some data, but we had a lot of changes at the universities past few years in administration and softwares and things like that, that it's been a bit hard to kind of get a good grasp on some good data to really evaluate. I can announce that I finally have some data, but it's, thousands of lines in an Excel spreadsheet that I haven't had the time to analyze and go through yet. So we're working on kind of getting some more specific data together to really show the success of the program. But we've come a long way from when we started, and we've done a lot of kind of trial and error and changed some things and tweaked it as we go. And like I said, we've kind of finally settled on a really nice system that works well for us and our students. Right now, myself and Amanda are the two full-time math support faculty at Fairmont State, and we currently have 4 adjunct faculty as well that teach either 1 or 2 courses for us. But I've got my email and Amanda's email up there as well. So if anybody has questions about anything, or you want to see our syllabi or anything like that, feel free to reach out to one of us, and we'd be happy to share what we have done with you guys. So I don't know what we're looking at on time. I had about 20 minutes here, but I know we were a little late starting. So
You were great, because we were
hiring a
we were
few.
giving you the full time. So you were
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
We actually have time for questions.
Okay, perfect. Great. We
And there
tried to
were-
make it fast so we would get in that
Yeah.
time that we needed. So if anybody.
So there were a couple questions that have shown up in the chat. So
Okay.
first one, were the guided notes that you guys are using, are they provided by Hawks, or did you develop them yourselves?
I developed them myself. That took a lot of time. So I had to go through the learn mode. So I pop back to the screen here, just what the students would see. That's like I said, our ebook. It's just a little bit nicer to flip through than like actual pages, like a typical ebook looks like. So yeah, I went through there and I kind of copied everything and transferred them into those Word documents, if you will, the kind of blank, fill in the blanks. And we have those separated into each of the units that we cover. And so we give the students like one whole unit packet at a time. So they can work ahead if they want to, but we let them know, hey, tomorrow we are covering section 5.3. So that's the notes you need to have ready for then. So yeah, we created those and the students will print them out and fill them out prior to class.
Okay, thank you. Another question that was in the chat was just a question on cost for like the Hawks, access to the Hawks platform. How expensive is that? Do you know?
Trying to think off the top of my head. If the students purchase directly from Hawks, it's $110. If they go through the bookstore, it's like 120-ish something. It's a little bit higher. So
Yes.
110 to 130-ish, depending on where they purchase from. But that's the only two places they can purchase from. This is not an access code that can be purchased anywhere else. So, but that's the only thing they need, because that gives them the textbook in that ebook form. And then the notes we provide to them. So.
And another question that was in the chat was, have you tracked grades or pass rates of students in other classes they take that had the math course as the prereq? Are we seeing?
That's one of the things that we have just gotten our data together on. So like I said, I have an Excel doc with like thousands of lists in it. And so I have to go through and figure out and kind of put all that information together. Because right now I just have the student number and the courses they took in their grades. So I have not yet compiled that to give you specifics on what their pass rates look like in their next classes.
And then there was a question on if the assessments in, I'm assuming these are course numbers, 1430, 50, and or 1530 and 1407 and 1507 are the same. And they were meaning the end of term assessments that you need to just evaluate the course, not like their exams. So is it showing, are there differences in how the assessments are showing up, I guess, in support students versus non-support students?
We do use the same assessments. From what we have seen, they tend to be about the same. Like students are performing about the same on them in support or non-support. Yeah.
Okay. And this is a question I have because I know what our DFW rate is for our co-rec courses here, or I've got an idea of what it is. Do you know approximately what your DFW rate is for your courses?
Right now, I don't know that number. Yeah. Again, that's one thing that we're looking at. Like I said, our data collection's not been very pretty these past few years. So we're going to get it all together now because, yeah.
And then another question I have, just because we constantly get pushed to increase class sizes. You said you keep class sizes around 18.
Yes.
How much pushback are you getting? How do you keep them at 18? Because we get so much pushback on, we have more students that need it. Can't you just let a few more in?
We have a very, very awesome dean that supports what we do. And so he understands our reasoning for wanting the classes that small. And so he goes to battle for us when people start to push and try to get that higher. We said it's just you want the students to be successful and get what they need to get out of this course, the classes need to stay small. So we've been very fortunate that our dean and administrators in our college have been very supportive of what we're doing. So.
Okay, well, thank you. We're out, let's see, pretty much out of time. I think you've addressed this, but I'll ask it real quick and then we'll move on to the next person, the next talk. Do you have any survey data to show student impressions of the course and their experience?
The students, I mean, in all of the classes, they send out the surveys at the end of the semester, right? Just general for all their classes. I can't say that participation isn't really very good on those, but I know that a couple of us kind of just do our own little surveys with our students at the end of the semester. And the students typically are very happy with the course. Even if they didn't like do as well as they thought they would, they're like, you know what, I actually learned a lot. Like I finally understood some of this stuff for the first time in my life. You know, I felt like I was actually getting, you know, a good impression of math and I was learning things. So kind of overall, the students at the end of the semester are happy. You know, they kind of fight us at the beginning because this is a really different way that the courses are set up because it is kind of flipped with them doing the notes before class and you know, things like that. But they really do kind of as a whole have a good impression of the courses. And like I said, I think that speaks to the courses as well. When we have students that don't even need the course that want to take it because they've heard good things from others. You know, my friend had this course and they said that it really helped them. So I want to take it instead of, you know, a different one. So